Alrighty, I spent a little time, got some pallets broke down, got them airing out a little bit. So what I'm going to do right now is focus on a tray that you put on your stove top while it's not being utilized. One of my buddies back in Seattle, he and his girlfriend have that on their stove. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool idea. You know, basically it's a tray with handles on it. You put it on your stove when your stove's not being used and you utilize it for storage. But when you use your stove, you just pick it up, move it over, use your stove. After it cools down, you put it back. And I've got some kind of perfect wood for that. And some more right over here, and I got some down there in case I want to mass produce. But we'll go ahead and we'll knock out a prototype first. And it looks like it's going to be 20 inches by 30 inches. Let's see how this turns out. All right. So our short pieces here are 24 inches. So I guess we'll go 20 inches this way. And then 30 inches this way. All right, how's that gonna look? I think that'll look great. I got the board set up here, and what I like to do is go through and just check for, number one, pattern, maybe something interesting. Spread out this reddish colored wood. I was going to say something about trying to just make it look random. There we go. That's kind of random looking, isn't it? Okay, I think it is. So we got our random looking wood, and I want to make sure I don't have great big gaps between each piece. And you've noticed I haven't planed anything or sanded anything yet, or cleaned up any of the edges. I'm just going to glue it the way it is, and we'll see how that turns out. I like to use my framing square to make sure things are fairly square before I start. Move that right there. That looks pretty good. Okay, one thing I think I will do is, so this doesn't fold back on itself, I'm going to put a board, a set of boards, one on the bottom, one on top. And I'll clamp that together just to hold these in place. Just to hold them in place. Well, nothing worse than having things pop out of whack on you when you least expect it. All right. Okay. I should hold everything in place, you would think. I think. Of course, I could be wrong. All right. Okay, that cedar sure is pretty looking wood, isn't it? And what's great is I kind of stay away from that typically because it's such a soft wood. But for something like this, it'll be perfect. And it's pretty. And it should really make this unique after we get it done. I'm excited. How about something like this? How about if we got this drying right here. The platform is drying. The sides I can make a little bit decorative by taking maybe a 4-inch and just cutting it down with a jigsaw. Have the back just be a straight piece. What do you think? Should I try it? Okay, I'll try it. Okay, so it's 20 by 30. We'll cut the sides first. So we'll cut those at 20 inches first. And I just grabbed some prime looking pieces of wood right there. I'll square off the ends. One thing I didn't think about on this particular project was the handles. And the last time I cut handles, it was kind of a debacle. So let's reconsider this. I'll meet you back over at the table. Okay, I know that I need to get better at cutting out handles. So let's find the center point. 20 inches, the center point's going to be 10. And I think we figured 4 inches was a pretty decent size for a handle, right? 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think if I come down 1 inch on these, that should be adequate for strength. Mark these up so far. We'll come to right about there. So this could be your handle space. That too basic? Okay. Okay, and then for the front, the front corners, we'll round those off like that. Okay, and then I think that we probably should just go ahead and come on in 1 inch from the bottom, and I will cut in the handles. I have an idea. People. Probably a bad idea, but it's an idea. Oops. Gee whiz. Gee whiz, Mr. Duvier. My 3rd grade skill set. Okay. We'll cut this out, but I am going to drill. I'm going to get a, whatever size this is. That's about 1 3/8 inches. I'll drill right about here and right about there. And then I'll come across and cut that. All right, let's try it. For Pete's sakes. All right. We will use that. Let me see if I can center this a little bit better. And because nothing is really square on this, let's see. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. This was 2 inches, 3 inches, and 3/8. 3 3/8. What is half of 3 3/8? Utilizing those years and years of education that I've had, I've concluded that the halfway point is 1.6875, and I use the iPhone. I've already made my measurements here, and I centered where I'm going to drill. Got my gloves, got my safety glasses, I got my bit in the drill, got a piece of wood under the board I'm drilling into. Let's see if we can make this happen without making too big of a mess. Okay, so all I got to do is take my jigsaw and cut a straight line. That's all I got to do is cut a straight line. That's pretty funny. Okay, my secret weapon. And then the backboard on this thing is going to be 30 inches long, and 30 inches plus an inch and a quarter. An inch and a quarter, because the sides are going to go like that, and we'll snug up to the bottom of the platform. So that's going to add an inch and a quarter. So we'll go ahead and cut our back at 31 inches and a quarter. Okay, so 31 and a quarter is cut out. One thing I forgot, we have to round our edges right here. Let's see how that goes. I've got to round my edges, so I'll use my jigsaw. Of course, I did that way out of the camera frame, so people had no idea what I was doing. The way I roll. I'm secretive that way. All right. I think we can live with that and that. Pretty good cuts. Okay, and just thinking about the structural integrity of this unit, we probably want to put some cross members on there along the bottom, and we'll let's see here. I'll go ahead and I'll cut them out at 31 inches. And we'll kind of play with an idea as we go along. Okay, I hear you. I know what you're saying. You're saying, Brett, the measurement of this thing was supposed to be 20 by 30, okay? You don't add a couple of inches here and there just to accommodate edges. You just don't do that. That's not what the people want, right? Well, you're probably right about that. So, the back, I am going to recut that to be 30 inches. And simply, the base of this thing, we're going to have to accommodate, probably knock an inch and a, what did I say? An inch and a quarter off of that, so that the whole width of this thing will just be 30 inches with the edges. All right? But that was pretty good thinking. Thank you for letting me know. Normally you guys don't tell me these things, but I'm glad you let me know this time. So let's go cut this thing at 30 inches. Okay, I've already squared off this board that I'm going to use for the bottom, and I'm gonna cut it to 28 inches, and that way on each side of my my platform, I'll have an inch space on each side, and that'll make room for like any, you know how most stoves have like a lip on them. That should set inside the lip, right? Right. Okay, so I will rip each of these pieces to 1 inch. 1 inch. 1 inch. I don't like having loose clothes floating around. Come on, baby. What are you guys gonna do? You gonna jam a little bit, or?
Yes, sir. I came over to get my sticks because I had to come here a few days ago. So I was at home playing, and
Okay, that'll work out pretty good. We'll just have these on there like that. Platform sitting on top of that. We'll have these like that, and this like that. That's going to be a great tray for the top of a stove. Can't wait to see my wife's reaction when it's done. Okay, let's set that task to the side for a minute. Let's talk about doing something else. I have an idea for a dice game, a real one, a real dice game. And basically what it is, I'm going to make some dice, and they are going to be 3/4 of an inch cubed. So 3/4 of an inch cubed. And I'm going to see, I'll go ahead and see if I can get away with just using 10 for this concept. I'll go ahead and I'll do 12 just in case. Because who wants to roll 12 dice at one time? That's too much, man. It's too much. Even 10's too much. I prefer it to be 8 max, but we'll see what happens. 8 max is probably what it's going to be. But I'm going to make 8 dices real quick, and I'll cut them, and I'll sand them down, I'll stain them, and then we'll stamp them. And I'll show you what we got going on. Okay, we'll measure our fence out at 3/4 of an inch. Could make my own drumsticks. Perfect. And the price is right. Yeah. Okay, I got a block set up, and it's at about 3/4 of an inch. I'll go ahead and square this one off. Perfect. Okay, next we'll clamp our orbital down. I may not like it, but it needs to be done. Okay. Oh. Yeah. All right, we got our dices. Turn this thing on. a nice brown color. Stain these. I really need to go out and buy some disposable nitrile gloves, because I make such a mess of this. Okay, so I have 11 dice, and what I'll do is I'm going to randomly, I'll select 3 for an A, that was a terrible A. If I can make that better. Oh, I knew it'd be terrible, but A. And I think I'll do 2 B's. B, B. And then I'll do 2 C's. C, C. Okay, so as you can see, our dice are just a bunch of letters randomly selected. Shortly we'll see what the concept is of this game. Normally I'll let everything sit overnight. This has only been sitting for a couple hours. Let's see if a couple hours will do it. So let's go ahead and mark this up to be cut. 30 inches. Okay, so first of all, we'll give ourselves kind of a square edge. Okay. That 30 inches minus 1 1/4 inches is going to put us at 28 3/4, right? Probably just need, oops, not that one. Just need a couple of marks. Okay, that does that. That is that, and this is this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rip this right here, and then I'll rip that right there, and I'll come back and I'll measure my 20 inches and we'll rip it right there. By golly, we got a plan. Okay, so we'll go ahead and give ourselves a mark, 1.5 inches from our line. Because the guide on our skill saw, it's 1.5 inches from the guide to the blade. We'll set this up right here. This is going to be our guide. Make sure that's on our mark pretty good. Tighten it down. Okay. Grab the skill saw. Alrighty. Smashing. And I've got oops. Well, how's about that? It looks like it's gonna work. Maybe I'll go ahead and get the bottom put on first. Why not? Oh. So I tried to break it there. Okay. So I wonder if I should sand that first. It would look a lot better. I don't want to sand in here, so let's take this back outside. We'll use the old flapper disc. Okay, so I got a little bit anxious and I am sanding the top portion of this as well. So we'll get all of our sanding done in this fair swoop, and it's looking pretty good. I'll check back in shortly. That sand job looks pretty good. And I'm looking at these and I'm like, you know something? Why don't I sand them down right now? And that way I don't have to sand them when they're in a more awkward position. So let's sand these too. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and glue one of the bottom pieces on here. I'm just trying to visualize. I know there's a lip on the stove. I'm going to just put it back like this. Hopefully my 1-inch tabs won't go all the way through. Guess they do kind of pop out a little bit. I'll grab this thing and I'm going to go ahead and just pound those down a little bit and hide them. Those in place, that's cool. Now what side do I want to be the front? I think I want this to be the front. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. That's just the way I roll. I'm not a thinker, I'm a doer. Okay. I like it. Okay, well, this right here is the idea, and it fits on there perfectly. So I think our measurements were good, and I think we're good to finish the sanding, and then we'll get her stained. All right. Okay, we'll touch up the sanding, and then we'll do some staining. Wow. Okay, so this is the stove cover as well as my dice tray. What do we have? See, what you do is you take your letters and you try to make as big a word as you can. So, my first word, you only have like a minute to do it, is going to be, oh, hey. That's not a very good word, and it's kind of weird that I only got myself a couple of, or only one vowel. So do I have a U? No. Mary. That's a pretty good word, Mary. And then I think that's all I can come up with. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 points with Mary. And that was less than a minute. And then the next person rolls. And then they come up with a word. Let's see here. Well, anyways, you get the idea. That's the crux. Let's stain this thing instead of playing games all day. A little bit of staining going on over here. Okay, some polyacrylic, slap that on here. Okay. And we'll call that good. We got ourselves a tray for the oven. For the stove, I mean, the oven. Hey, tray for the oven, made out of wood. Now we'll just stick with this. Tray for the stove, and we have our dice game, and I think that's a pretty good day. Can't wait to play this one. You got enough wood in there, baby? You think it's gonna burn?